Hello guys, you're welcome. It's been a while now. This tutorial is all about creating Django. Creating an Hello World app with the Django Python web framework. So along the line, we're gonna be seeing how we're gonna be starting a project, and we're gonna be creating our first app with Django. So don't worry, you're gonna learn a lot from this tutorial. For those that have subscribed to my channel that are encouraging me, I really want to say thank you to you. And for my prospective subscribers, I want to say a shout out to you, and I want to say thank you for subscribing in anticipation. And you can just encourage me further by subscribing to this channel and putting a like on my video. For those that have subscribed before, I really say a big shout out to you all. I really appreciate you and I respect you a lot. So let's just dive into it already. So first thing I'm gonna do is that we want to create a Django project, right? So the first thing we're going to do is that we're going to create a Django project, and inside a folder, that's where we're going to be creating our Django project. So we'll be creating a folder. We name the folder Django, and just let's say Django Pro. Okay, so Django Pro, let's just open Django Pro, and inside Django Pro we're going to open a command line. So and now the first thing we should do is we should create a virtual environment. So by creating a virtual environment, we'll be using the virtual environment wrapper. So I'm going to say make virtual env. Let's just give a virtual environment a name. We can say tut, just maybe something like that. So we would do that. So we're gonna do, okay, that was fast anyways. So now we have a virtual environment tut and created, and inside a virtual environment we're gonna be starting a Django project. So before we start, what happens is we're gonna want to create a project, and then an app under that project inside a virtual environment, everything inside a virtual environment. But first we need to install Django. Okay, so how do we install Django? We're going to use pip install Django. So the Django version that we're going to be using for this tutorial is going to be Django 2.0.7, and this tutorial is based on Python 3.7. So I'm just going to say pip install Django equals 2.0.7. so we wait for that to install. By the time it installs, we're gonna continue with the other things. Okay, so now we have Django 2.0.7 installed successfully. So the next thing we're gonna be doing is that we're gonna be creating a Django project, and we're gonna be using the Django admin.py. So we say Django admin.py start project. So let's just give the project a name. Let's give it a name my tutorial. Let's just my tutorial. So we're gonna say my tutor. Cool. So now we're gonna cd into my tutor. So we cd into my tutor, and once we cd into my tutor, we're gonna start an app. We say Python manage.py start app. So let's just call the app my tutorial. Whatever we like, we can even call the app this, we can give it the same name as the virtual environment. It doesn't affect each other. Okay, so once let's try that. Okay, so cool. We should have inside the folder that we created earlier, we should have my tutor as the project, and under the project we should have my tutorial. So let's verify if that's actually correct. So we have my tutor. Inside my tutor we have my tutorial. Okay, cool. All right, so the next thing we're going to be doing is we should just maybe we can make migrations if you like. So we're just going to say Python manage .py. Sorry, before we do this, let's just open up Sublime Text and import the project into Sublime Text. Okay, so let's just say file, open folder, and we go into Django Pro and my tutor. We select folder, so we have the folder now. So by the time we view my tutor, we can see the settings.py for the project. So this is for the project, the settings. This contains the total settings for your project, and inside the settings, what we have all these. Don't bother yourself about this secret key. Well, you can change that, just tweak some things there for security purpose. Then the debug, you can set it to false later on, but for this when you're producing offline, you might want to set it to true. But when you want to launch into deployment, you should set it to false, so as not to get things messy. So installed apps, this is kind of important too. We have created an app, so we have to add our app to the installed app in Django. So we're just going to say, for the installed app, this is our app, right? So we're just going to add my underscore tutorial. Okay, my underscore tutorial. Okay, so we're gonna put a comma there, then we go down, and what I want to show you actually is that the default database for Django is SQLite 3. So you might actually want to replace that later on with a more scalable database, maybe I don't know, maybe MongoDB or whatever. So let's just go on. So we have the URLs of py, so we can see that the only URL pattern that is present in this URL.py is actually the admin page. So once we launch into the admin page of Django, you're gonna see what I'm talking about. And this is just a gateway interface for our project. Then under the app that we created, we can see the initial migration file init.py, and this initial migration file actually contains a lot of things like the host table and everything. Then the admin.py, this is just where you can register your models if you're creating a model, which you're going to that's object-oriented programming language actually. Then we have the apps, the models, and we have the views. Okay, so first off, let me just tell you, Django is based on the principle of MVT, that's model, views, and template. All right, so it's not like the model, views, and controller or something that we have in other frameworks. So for this, we'll be dealing with the model, views, and template, and later on you're going to be seeing what we mean by the models, the views, and the template. Okay, so cool, let's just go on. So what we wanted to do is that we wanted to make migrations, because we need to make the initial migrations that have been created by default by Django into our database for us to be able to gain access into that database. So the first thing we're going to be doing is python manage.py, then we will say make migrations. This should give us something like no changes detected. Okay, cool. So we're just going to run just python manage.py and migrate. So we should see all our initial migrations getting into our database. All right, so fine. So now for us to be able to enter the database, we are going to have to start run our server. So to run server, you're going to say python manage.py, then run server. Sorry, so run server. So by the time we do that, we should have a server. You copy this local host link, and you open your browser. Inside your browser, you paste the link, and you just fine. So once you see this, cool, that means you're good to go. All right, so this is not our destination, right? We want to be able to enter the database. Well, not for this particular project, but I just want to show you as a side stuff here. This doesn't really concern this project, so if you're not getting this, don't worry, but you can just try and play with it. So you're going to say /admin. So by the time you say /admin, this is what we have. Okay, so this is something I've created before, but before we can actually log into this database, if I press login, I mean, this should give us an error. Please enter the correct username and password for a staff account, because for this particular project I've not actually created a user. So we're gonna come back here and create a super user. All right, so let's just just open up another command prompt, cmd, and we're gonna say work on what's the name? That's tooth. Okay, so I'll say Python manage the py create super user. Okay, so this should username leave blank. Okay, so I'm just gonna go across this. So we want to create a very strong password. Let me just call mine Paul admin. All right, so that's it, Paul admin. All right, so super user created successfully. So we're just gonna come back into the browser, and we will use Paul, since that's the default, then Paul admin. So once we launch that, fine. So now we have a Django administration page. So this is a Django administration page. So that's just that about logging into the Django admin page. But what do we want to do? We don't want to, this is not actually what we want to do. We want to actually create a hello world app. So let's just go back into our Sublime text, and inside our Sublime text, what do? The first thing you're gonna do, what I want to do is, you can see that when we go into the URLs of py of our project, you can see that the admin page has been set as a default home page, but I don't want that to happen. So what I just want to do is that I'm going to be using the library include to include all the URLs of my app into the project app. Okay, this is what I'm saying. So I'm just gonna save this by hitting Ctrl S. So this is, what is my app? Okay, this is my app. Okay, so under this app, I'm going to create a new file, and I'm gonna hit Ctrl S. Sorry, I'm gonna hit Ctrl S, and I'm gonna save it as urls.py. Make sure you save it as urls.py. So once you save it as urls.py, once you unlock this, it means, so now your app is having a urls.py, and your project is also having its own urls.py. All right, that's cool. So let's just go into the urls.py of this, and we're just gonna say okay, tab, and we're gonna say path, open a bracket and open empty apostrophe, then put a comma there and say include then in the bracket include my tutorial so include my tutorial dot urls. All right, so cool. So that's what we have, include my tutorials.url. So any URLs that you create under my tutorial is actually going to reflect with the project, with the whole project. So what do we do? Again, we are just going to come into our urls.py of our project, and we're going to say from Django .urls import path, then from dot import views. So once we do that, we're just gonna say URL. We're gonna create a URL pattern for this particular app too. Under it, say path into then empty div, and that means home. Then we're gonna say okay, home dot views. We're gonna create these views later. All right, So home.views, then comma, then we'll be actually going to say name equals home. Put that in apostrophe. All right, cool. So now we will now move back and we create we actually create our views.py. So we're gonna create our views right here. So to create our views, we're gonna say def, then the name that we give to the view is home. All right, so home, then we enter request right here and we say column, and under it we're gonna say let's just create a variable and say our variable we're giving it hello world. Okay, so we're creating hello world, and we're gonna want to create a context, and that context is always a dictionary. So you see the usefulness of the dictionary later, and we say actually this is how we represent a dictionary, right? So once we've done that, we're gonna say return. So we say return render. Okay, then inside the render we're gonna say request comma, we say home.html, put that in quotes, then comma, then we're gonna say context. So we were rendering the context, which is the hello world. We'll be rendering it out. This is the context that we'll be rendering it out in a template later on. But we don't have a template home.html. We don't have it, right? So what do? What we do is that inside a project, we'll be creating a folder called template. So let's create a folder called template. So once we create the template, let's expand this. We should have templates somewhere. So inside the template, we'll be creating our HTML file. So this is what I was talking about when I said MVT, model views and templates. So the templates are actually what actually brings out the beauty of our design. They are usually HTML files, unlike the model views controller in other programming language, whereby the views are actually they are actually the HTML files. But in this case, the templates are actually the HTML files. So let's just create a new file, and let's hit save, and let's call it home.html. So once we hit call it home.html, so inside it we're just gonna create an HTML file. So to create an HTML, so doc type doc type HTML. All right, come down here, say HTML. Okay, so that's that. We have our HTML file, and if you like, you can just come into the body and say BG color, or say background. Let's call it cyan, or let's call it magenta. I love magenta. All right, so just call it background magenta, and inside that body, we're gonna wrap what is it called? We created a views right here. Okay, so we have a context to render out, right? So what do? We have a context to render out. So what we're going to be doing is inside this home.html, we will be wrapping the hello world context in an let's wrap it in an h2 tag. Now let's wrap it in an h1 tag. So we'll be wrapping it in an h1 tag. Okay, so wrap it in an h1 tag, h1 and h1. Okay, so right here we will there's some will call it ginger tag. So for you to be able to render out this view, this context A, since we have defined the context as a dictionary, for us to be able to render out this hello world, which has been assigned to a variable A, we're gonna be putting it in ginger tag. So inside the home.html, we're gonna be creating a ginger tag. Okay, so inside a ginger tag, we're gonna say A. So this actually, when we run it, should give us our what is it called, what we have actually rendered on our views, but we cannot actually see this on the home page already, can we? All right, I think we've created a urls.py for this. Okay, cool. So let's try and test it. Let's see what happens. Oh, sorry, before we proceed, just let's change this. It should be URL patterns equals to. So that's actually a mistake there. So URL patterns equals to path into views.home and the name equals home. So let's just test it and see what we have. All right, so let's test that. So I have reload. It's an error. Okay, it's okay. Sorry, this should be in quotes. This should be in quotes. So I want to believe this should run now. Oh, this should run now. Let's see. Still getting the error. Let's see what actually is happening. What's the error this time? Oh, no model named Django. that's so what would have happened? Let's see where that actually happened. So I guess it should be in the URLs of py this place. Yeah, so here, so I have Django here. So let's just hit save there and let's test it again. Let's see if it's gonna run this time. Yeah, okay, it's running now. So let's try and visit the home page. Let's see if we have, sorry, so let's visit the, okay, template does not exist. So I was actually expecting this error. So template does not exist at home.html. Why? Because we have not actually created a path for our template in the settings.py. So what we're going to do is that we're going to dive into the Sublime Text again, and in the settings.py of the project here, we're going to we're going to add our what is it called, we're going to be adding the template. We're going to be adding the template. So let's look for where the template should be added. So let's see where the template should be added. Should be adding the template somewhere here. Oh, here it is. So we'll be having our template, and inside the template, we're just gonna create a directory for our template. Okay, so to do that, inside this place, we're just gonna say os.path dot join. We're gonna open out this. We're gonna say base dir and comma, and inside that quote, we're gonna be adding our templates. So once this is done, I think the template should work. Let's see. Cool. So here we have hello world. So basically, what we meant by saying that Django is an MVT is that this is actually an HTML file rendering out the hello world, which we actually defined in our, let me just borrow this. So in our views, we said A equals hello world. We defined that in a string, and we said we created a context, and we said inside our context we created a dictionary, and we rendered the context out in the return render. We created a request, and we actually came to the home.html, and we rendered it out in HTML. What is it called here? Sorry, this background didn't work actually. I don't know why. Maybe sorry, maybe BG color something. So this should work now, I think. Okay, so that's that about the tutorial. So just put it like cool. So we have hello world here. So that's that about this tutorial. We have been able to create an hello world app with the Django framework. So it's just simple. All we did is just very simple. This is views, and we render out the views in our home.html, and we actually just converted that home page, that default home page of Django, into our own defined home page. So we just created our URLs of py for our own app here, and we actually created a home page, and we included all the URLs, that any URLs that we create. So whatever other page that we create right here is going to actually be linked back, from this home page to that. So all we're just gonna have to do is just put a / in front of this local host address right here, like this. Let's say you create something like a login and /login. Okay, that's cool, right? So that's just that about that. So if I want to just come here, from here I'm gonna go into the admin. I can just type the admin, or if I just want to go into just home, I can just say localhost 800 8080. Sorry, that should be that should give us, actually that should give us, oh sorry, because I'm connected to the internet actually. So let's just roll back. So I'm just gonna clean this up. It's local, it's 1800 actually. Yeah, cool. So it's not one local, it was 8080. So this is what we have. So cool, right? So if you like the video, just put a like on the video, and help me by subscribing to the channel. So we're actually going to, in my next tutorial, probably I'm going to be replacing the default Django SQLite, the default SQLite 3. We are going to be replacing it with another more scalable database, which we can actually use. We'll be creating a model, and we'll be seeing how models actually work in the real sense. So thank you for watching my video. Just ask any question, comment below. I'm going to reply you. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.